There's a new drug called White Whisper that's been like sweeping through the city. You'll meet people who have been affected by it. You'll get into fights with like dealers who are pushing it, and then that also like ties into the main narrative.
Tyndalston can be a very harsh and unfair city, and this is where Samson lives and works as an enforcer in the Cobb Street gang.
So the game takes place in South End, which is kind of the roughest part of the rough city of Tyndalston. And South End is where Samson grew up, but he's been away for the past few years on the mainland, getting into trouble and accruing a huge amount of debt that he now has to repay.
In Samson, there are basically 3 main modes of play. Missions, which are split up into narrative chapters, and jobs, and then open exploration, whether that's searching for collectibles or trying to find optional story content.
I'm really sorry to bother you, but could you spare a minute?
Or just taking in the view. Kind of needs to do that every day to chip away at this debt and keep the wolves at bay.
God damn, that feels good.
There's a wide variety of jobs in Samson. It could be anything from picking up criminals at the scene of a crime, losing the heat and dropping them off at a safe location, or maybe someone needs the help of procuring new items. Or it could be maybe a group of young wannabes are trying to start a gang in South End without your say-so. Maybe you need to go there and tell them that's not a very wise idea. And a large amount of these jobs are repeatable. For example, every now and then in South End, some freshly harvested organs need delivery to like an underground clinic, and that can happen every now and then. Other jobs are more uniquely tailored and are more one-off, such as maybe you're after a unique named individual and need to take them out.
Yeah, jobs are your primary way for earning money in the game, and then the chapters are kind of like story delivery method. Every day, the player can choose like which one they want to do and kind of like mix and match to their choice or to whatever pressures are on them at the time. One is not more important than the other. Like we want the chapters and jobs, they kind of like run in parallel, right? And the player has to kind of decide like which is more important at any given time.
I'll have this debt paid off soon, sis.
Yeah, I think it's interesting in the game with this like push and pull between narrative chapters and jobs. Also the fact that you cannot do everything in a single day. Even Samson has his limitations. On the one hand, I'm really eager to find out what happens after the last cliffhanger potentially in the narrative chapters. On the other hand, like maybe my car is broken down. I was planning to try and win a street trial later to earn a bunch of cash, so I need to balance those things and then also see like what does a good day look for me today. Once I described the game as a violent lesson in risk management, and I think that's pretty accurate. We don't want to be too punishing to players for failing a mission or a job here and there, but having said that, you wake up every day and you hopefully feel this like healthy dose of stress of like, oh shit, I have to make a lot of cash today so I can chip away at this debt. And at the same time, the better you do at any given day, the more money you're walking around with like actual cash in South End, and that's dangerous. If you get randomly ambushed in an alley on your way home or whatever, the most probable thing that will happen if you get knocked out is that you lose that money. There's always like that feeling of, I'm having a pretty good day. Is that good enough? Should I go home and bank that progress so they are actually safe?
Yeah, or do I want to like take the risk and try to go out and earn just like a little bit more money, chip off a little bit more of the debt?
If you ignore your debt for too long, maybe you get a friendly visit from some debt collectors who are there to remind you.
You're playing as a tough guy, as this two-fisted action hero who's not a soldier, who's not a martial arts master, who's not trained or he's skilled, he's tough, driven to fight out of desperation and survival. You're gonna get ganged up on, they're gonna try and get behind you, they're gonna charge in on all sides. You gotta keep moving, keep swinging. You can walk into a nice clean room and totally wreck the place. The world is not just an arena in which you can take broken things and make them into weapons. You can knock stuff over onto people. Debris can get in enemies' ways. Heavy stuff can fall and kill people. Like, it's crazy. We spent you get out of a fight, you pull out a gun, you'd be at distance, you'd take out your targets. We weren't getting the same kind of crazy chaos.
The original vision for combat in Samson was to hit like a freight train.
Tyndalston, asshole of the world. Everyone's either paying, collecting, or buried in between. My past mistakes are catching up.
Samson, a Tyndalston story, is an upcoming single-player open-world noir action game developed and published by Liquid Swords, the Stockholm-based studio founded by Christopher Sundberg, and is scheduled to release on April 8, 2026, for Windows PC via Steam and the Epic Games Store, as the studio's debut project, positioning itself as a focused, consequence-driven urban action experience, rather than a traditional large-scale sandbox. Set in the fictional city of Tyndalston, a dense, crime-ridden metropolis inspired by 1990s American urban environments, the game follows Samson McCray, a hardened enforcer returning home under extreme pressure from a growing debt that is being leveraged against him through threats to his sister, creating a constant narrative urgency where survival, loyalty, and desperation intersect. The core structure revolves around a systemic pressure loop in which time actively works against the player, as Samson's debt increases continuously and must be managed through taking on dangerous jobs, completing missions, and navigating the city's hostile ecosystem, with every action feeding into a broader system of consequences that affects relationships, faction dynamics, and the state of the world itself. A defining gameplay mechanic is the action point system, where each day limits how many activities can be performed, forcing players to prioritize objectives while the debt escalates in the background, reinforcing a design philosophy built around momentum, risk, and irreversible decisions, rather than open-ended freedom. Combat emphasizes grounded, physical, close-quarters encounters, with Samson relying on punches, grapples, environmental takedowns, and improvised tools in tight urban spaces, such as alleyways, rooftops, and interior locations designed to keep encounters fast, brutal, and unpredictable, while vehicles play an equally important role as both transportation and weapons, allowing players to ram, chase, and destroy enemies. High-speed sequences supported by a detailed damage and physics system. The city of Tyndalston itself is designed as a reactive system rather than a static map, with districts, law enforcement, and factions responding dynamically to player behavior, meaning that causing chaos can escalate police presence, alter mission availability, and shift how the world reacts to Samson's actions over time. Progression systems include a skill tree with multiple upgrades that enhance both combat and driving capabilities, allowing players to shape Samson into a more efficient fighter or a more aggressive driver depending on playstyle, while the overall experience is structured around a tightly paced campaign, estimated to last around 10 hours, with additional content extending playtime further. Visually and thematically, the game leans heavily into noir influences, presenting a city shaped by violence, inequality, and decay, with environmental storytelling reflecting themes of survival, pressure, and moral compromise, and recent developer updates released in March 2026 have highlighted the game's detailed urban design, destructible vehicles, and emphasis on density over scale, reinforcing its identity as a concentrated, high-intensity experience rather than a sprawling sandbox. As of March 21st, 2026, with the launch just weeks away, Samson, a Tyndalston story, is positioned as a mid-budget but highly stylized action title that aims to stand out through its relentless pressure systems, reactive world design, and grounded combat, offering a narrative-driven experience where every decision matters and every moment pushes the player closer to either survival or collapse.